Okay, next step is to turn this into an Alembic cache. So select this Maya node, growing axon, go up to cache under the modeling toolset, Alembic cache, export selection to Alembic, and I'll do this for start end to 120 frames. And I think that's everything, and we'll just export this, and we'll have to give it a name. It's going to the wrong spot. Let me set my project and go to cache Alembic. We'll do growing nerve 3. Okay, so it just plays through the timeline to export it. So now we'll just open up a new file. So we've got an empty scene and we want to have our neuron growing in here. So we'll just go to cache, Alembic cache. We don't want to open the Alembic, but instead to import it. Yes. And then we'll select the one we just created. And there you go. So if I turn on the grid, you can see I did move it over from the center. If we look at the channel box, we can just put that back at 0. Now again, we've got this little piece of geometry here. I don't have a great solution for this yet, but there you go. It's playing in the scene. Now it's playing back really fast. But because this is just a regular Maya geometry now, I could, if I wanted to, just go and put like a sine wave deformer on it. And let's give it a very small amplitude, even smaller. And then keyframe the offset. It just gives it a little bit of movement if you want to do something like that. Of course, you don't need to do that. Just delete that. But you can do lots of things to it. But the other thing you probably want to do more than this is to change the timing. So if we select this and go into the attribute editor and go into the Alembic node, we've got the start and end frame, the current time, and the speed. So if I wanted to reduce the speed a lot, I could do that. Let's give myself 5,000 frames, let's say. So I reduced it to 10%. Right, so it's going very slowly now. So you can do stuff like that. Offset, I just put the speed back to 1. So if I offset it by 100 frames, it will wait 100 frames to start. Now it starts growing. So let's say you want to have multiples of these. If you just duplicate it normally, it won't work. Instead, you go to Edit, Duplicate Special. Make sure Copy is turned on and Duplicate Input Graph. So now you have another one of these. And this one, let's put the offset back to 0. So one will start right away, and the other one will wait 100 frames before it starts going, right? So you can duplicate, just make sure you duplicate the input graph. But that's not a lot of control over the timing. Let's say you want to reverse this thing. It's kind of a hassle. So there's a little workaround that we can do here. If we go to the node editor and find that Alembic node, select that and map it out. So you can see there's this time function here, right? And it's going into the Alembic node. And that's telling us the current time. So you've got this time node that's feeding in here, and that's what we see in the attribute editor. If we go into the Alembic node and open the channel box, you can see that speed and offset are here to set keys on, but not time. So here's the trick. If we go to, let's see, channels, and nope, we go to edit, and we go to channel control. It opens up this box, and we can take time and move it over to the keyable column. And now you can see that it appears in here, and it's got this yellow input. That means it's being controlled by something else, namely this node. But if we select that time node attribute, right click and just break the connection, now it is no longer connected to time. So if we play the animation, we're past 100, nothing has happened. I'll put the offset back to 0. But now we can key this. Now we know it's meant to be 120 frames, right? So if we want the full thing to play just like normal, then we could set a key on time at frame 1. And then at 120 frames, we can set this to 120 and set a key on that. Okay, so it grows. Now what if you want it to reverse? So we can let it go on for a little while, stop. We can key again. And then, let's say, over around 120 frames. So it would be about 326 or so. Then we can key this back to 1. Let's go back to the beginning. So we start here, it grows down, stays for a little bit, and then starts to reverse. So that is a bit of a hacky workaround, but by making time keyable, you can do lots of things. And the good thing about it is that if you go into the graph editor, for example, then you can see these keys here, and you can work with the interpolation curves. So if we wanted to, let's break these tangents. You can have it ease it out and sort of snap in and snap out. Did not look very different, I have to say. That looked a little faster at the beginning. And we can change the timing if we move this over. By default, tangents are not weighted. There, it comes out faster now. Could even make it much faster by pulling this in. Then a longer, slower retraction. Right, so you just have a lot more control. And because this is an Alembic node, it's in no way connected to that Bifrost graph anymore. But of course, you could go back to that original file, tweak things, and export it again, and make another Alembic node. Anyway, I know this is long-winded and a lot of details, but I hope you find this helpful. It's something I've always wanted to be able to do in Maya, is to make branching geometry. And this method of doing it, although it's not perfect, I just started it, so I'm sure there are lots of things that could be improved. And if anybody has ideas, I'd love to hear them. But things like Cinema 4D has the volume builder. You can do similar things in Blender with geometry nodes, and I imagine this is something perfect for Houdini. But I don't have Houdini. I don't know how to use Blender, and I don't have Cinema 4D. So just trying to adapt and think of creative solutions for common problems. Anyway, good luck.